Every morning, you stand at the crossroads of yesterday's excuses and tomorrow's possibilities. And in that moment, you either choose mastery or surrender to mediocrity. This is not philosophy. This is not theory. This is the fundamental truth that separates those who create their destiny from those who merely react to it. The moment you opened your eyes this morning, you entered into a sacred covenant with possibility itself. You became, whether you realized it or not, the architect of everything that will unfold in the next 24 hours. But here's what most people never understand. Being an architect requires more than dreams. It requires the courage to look at the blueprint of your life and ask yourself the most uncomfortable question of all. What am I actually building? There once lived a man who had everything the world told him he should want: a successful business, a beautiful family, respect in his community. Then, in a single week, it all vanished. The business collapsed under the weight of a partner's betrayal. His wife left, taking their children. The community that once celebrated him now whispered behind his back. He found himself sitting in an empty apartment, surrounded by nothing but the wreckage of what he thought was his life. Most people would have called this a tragedy, but this man made a discovery that changed everything. He realized that he had been living as a tenant in his own existence, allowing circumstances to dictate his emotional state, his decisions, his very sense of self. The loss of everything external forced him to confront an uncomfortable truth. He had never actually been in control of his life. He had been reacting to it. In that moment of complete devastation, he spoke words that would reshape his entire existence. I am the architect of my destiny, not I will be, not I hope to be. I am. Present tense. Immediate ownership. Total responsibility. This is the first powerful truth you must tell yourself every morning, because it establishes the foundation upon which everything else is built. When you declare, I am the architect of my destiny, you're not making a wish. You're acknowledging a law as fundamental as gravity. You are at this very moment designing your life through every choice you make, every thought you think, every action you take. The man in that empty apartment understood something that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. External circumstances are nothing more than raw materials. They are the stone, the wood, the metal that an architect uses to create something magnificent. The circumstances themselves are neutral. It is what you do with them that determines whether you build a prison or a palace. Think about this for a moment. What circumstance in your life have you been treating as a limitation instead of raw material? What situation have you been allowing to define you instead of allowing you to define it? The answer to that question reveals exactly where you've been living as a tenant instead of as an architect. But here's where most people get stuck. They understand the concept intellectually, but they fail to grasp the daily reality of what it means to be an architect. They think it's about positive thinking, or visualization, or some other mental trick. It's not. It's about recognizing that every single morning, you have a choice that most people never even realize they're making. You can choose growth, or you can choose comfort. You cannot choose both. Today I choose growth over comfort. This is the second declaration that must become as natural as breathing, because it acknowledges a truth that governs all advancement in life. Growth and comfort are not compatible. They exist in different dimensions. When you choose one, you automatically exclude the other. Consider the seed buried in the dark earth. It exists in what appears to be the most uncomfortable situation possible, surrounded by darkness, pressure, moisture, completely cut off from the light it was designed to reach toward. But this apparent discomfort is actually the exact environment required for the seed to crack open and begin its transformation into something magnificent. The seed doesn't resist the darkness. It doesn't complain about the pressure. It doesn't wait for more comfortable conditions. It uses the very elements that seem restrictive as the catalyst for its transformation. This is the ancient principle that all growth requires the death of what we were. Every morning, You face the same choice that seed faced. You can remain in the shell of yesterday's limitations, or you can allow the pressure of today's challenges to crack you open and reveal the potential that has been waiting inside you all along. But here's what most people do instead. They choose the illusion of comfort. They wake up and immediately reach for their phone, filling their minds with other people's opinions, problems, and drama. They follow the same routines, think the same thoughts, react to the same triggers in the same ways. They call this living, but it's actually a form of slow spiritual death. Comfort zones are not zones of comfort. They are zones of slow decay. When you choose comfort over growth, you choose stagnation over transformation. You choose the known limitations of yesterday over the unknown possibilities of tomorrow. The man who lost everything discovered this principle in the most profound way possible. Every day in that empty apartment, he was forced to choose between the comfort of self-pity and the discomfort of rebuilding, the comfort of blame and the discomfort of responsibility, the comfort of staying small and the discomfort of growing into someone new. He chose growth, not once, but every single morning. And here's what happened. Within 2 years, he had not only rebuilt his business, but had created something far more successful than before. He had not only repaired his relationship with his children, but had become the father he wished he had been from the beginning. He had not only regained the respect of his community, but had become a source of inspiration for others facing their own challenges. But the most remarkable transformation was internal. He had become someone who could not be broken by external circumstances, because he had learned to use every situation as raw material for growth. This brings us to the third truth that must become part of your morning consciousness. I am responsible for my reactions, not my circumstances. This is perhaps the most liberating and simultaneously the most challenging principle you will ever encounter. It means that while you cannot control what happens to you, you have complete control over what happens in you, and what happens in you determines everything that happens through you. Between every stimulus and every response there exists a gap. Most people live their entire lives unconscious of this gap. They allow circumstances to trigger automatic reactions, and then they wonder why their lives feel out of control. But once you become aware of this gap, you gain access to the most powerful force in human existence, the power of conscious choice. Think about the last time someone said something that made you angry. In that moment, you probably felt like your anger was justified, maybe even inevitable. But here's the truth. That person's words were simply a stimulus. Your anger was a choice. Between their words and your emotional response there was a gap, a space where you could have chosen differently. This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions, or pretend that hurtful words don't affect you. It means you can choose your response based on what serves your highest good, rather than what provides the most immediate emotional relief. The man in the empty apartment had to learn this principle the hard way. Every time he thought about his former partner's betrayal, he felt a surge of rage. Every time he remembered his wife leaving, he felt overwhelmed by sadness. Every time he considered his financial situation, he felt paralyzed by fear. But gradually he began to notice the gap between these thoughts and his emotional reaction. He realized that he was choosing to relive these painful experiences in his mind, and each time he did, he was choosing to recreate the same emotional state that kept him trapped in the past. So he began to practice expanding the gap. When a painful thought arose, instead of immediately reacting, he would take a conscious breath. In that breath, he would remind himself, I am responsible for my reaction to this thought. I can choose how I respond. This simple practice transformed his entire experience of life. He went from being a victim of his circumstances to being the conscious creator of his responses. And as his responses changed, his circumstances began to change as well. This is not positive thinking. This is not denial. This is the recognition that you have been granted the most extraordinary gift in all of creation, the ability to choose your response to any situation. Most people forfeit this gift without ever realizing they possess it. What situation in your life have you been reacting to instead of responding to? What trigger have you been allowing to control your emotional state? The answer to these questions reveals exactly where you need to begin practicing the expansion of the gap between stimulus and response. But expanding this gap requires more than just awareness. It requires understanding the fourth fundamental truth that must become part of your morning consciousness. My thoughts create my reality. This is not a metaphor. This is not New Age wishful thinking. This is a principle that has been understood by the greatest minds throughout history, and it operates with the same precision and reliability as any law of physics. Every thought you think sends out a vibrational frequency that attracts experiences of a similar frequency. Every mental image you hold consistently begins to manifest in your physical reality. Every belief you carry in your consciousness becomes a filter through which you perceive and interact with the world. The thoughts you think in the first hour of your day are particularly powerful because they set the vibrational tone for everything that follows. If you begin your day thinking about problems, you will find problems. If you begin your day thinking about possibilities, you will find possibility. If you begin your day thinking about what you lack, you will experience lack. If you begin your day thinking about what you're grateful for, you will find more to be grateful for. This is why the morning hours are sacred. This is why what you do with your mind in those first precious moments of consciousness determines the entire trajectory of your day. The man who lost everything learned this principle through direct experience. During his darkest period, he noticed that when he woke up thinking about his failures, the entire day seemed to confirm his sense of defeat. Unexpected problems would arise. People would treat him differently. Opportunities would seem to slip away. But when he began to discipline his morning thoughts, something remarkable happened. Instead of allowing his mind to immediately focus on his problems, he began to consciously direct his thoughts toward solution. Instead of thinking about what he had lost, he began to think about what he could create. Instead of focusing on his limitations, he began to focus on his possibilities. The results were immediate and dramatic. People began to respond to him differently. Opportunities began to appear. Solutions to problems that had seemed impossible began to emerge. It was as if he had tuned into a different frequency of reality. This is the power of conscious thought direction. Your mind is not a passive receiver of random information. It is an active transmitter and receiver, constantly broadcasting and attracting experiences that match your dominant mental frequency. Most people never realize this power because they have never taken conscious control of their thinking. They allow their minds to be programmed by the news, by social media, by other people's opinions, by their own unconscious fears and doubts. They think whatever thoughts happen to arise, and then they wonder why their lives seem to be happening to them instead of for them. But when you understand that your thoughts create your reality, you realize that you have been given the most powerful creative tool in existence. You can literally think your way into a different life experience. This doesn't mean you can think your way out of taking it. It means you can think your way into the kind of actions that create the results you desire. When your thoughts are aligned with your goals, your actions naturally follow. When your thoughts are scattered and reactive, your actions become scattered and reactive as well. The practice of conscious thought direction begins the moment you open your eyes each morning. Before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, before you allow the reactive mind to take control, you consciously choose the first thoughts that will set the tone for your entire day. You remind yourself, I am the architect of my destiny. Today I choose growth over comfort. I am responsible for my reactions, not my circumstances. My thoughts create my reality. These are not affirmations in the traditional sense. They are declarations of truth that align your consciousness with the fundamental laws that govern success and fulfillment. They are the foundation upon which everything else is built. As you speak these truths to yourself each morning, you are not trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. You are reminding yourself of something that has always been true but that you may have forgotten in the chaos of daily life. You are remembering that you are not a victim of your circumstances, but the creator of your experience. You are not at the mercy of other people's choices, but the master of your own responses. You are not a passive observer of your life, but the active architect of your destiny. This remembering is the first step toward the kind of transformation that changes everything. It is the foundation upon which all true success is built. It is the awakening that transforms you from someone who reacts to life into someone who creates life. Tomorrow we will explore how this foundation of personal responsibility becomes the launching pad for understanding the natural laws that govern all achievement. We will discover how success is not an accident, but the inevitable result of aligning your daily actions with principles that never fail. But today your work is to integrate these four fundamental truths into the very fabric of your morning consciousness, to make them as natural as breathing, to allow them to become the lens through which you see every situation, every challenge, every opportunity. Because when you truly understand that you are the architect of your destiny, everything becomes possible. When you consistently choose growth over comfort, transformation becomes inevitable. When you take responsibility for your reactions, you gain control of your life. When you consciously direct your thoughts, you begin to consciously create your reality. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning. This is the awakening that makes everything else possible. Success is not an accident. It is the natural result of aligning your daily actions with the immutable laws that govern all achievement. Now that you understand you are the architect of your destiny, you must learn to work with the blueprint that governs all construction in the universe. Just as a building must follow the laws of physics to stand, your life must follow certain natural laws to flourish. These laws are not suggestions. They are not optional. They operate with the same precision and reliability whether you understand them or not. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is not talent, luck, or circumstances. It is the difference between those who align themselves with these natural laws and those who fight against them. When you work with these laws, success becomes inevitable. When you work against them, failure becomes inevitable. The fifth truth you must embed in your morning consciousness is this: I plant seeds of excellence in everything I do. This declaration acknowledges the most fundamental law of all creation, the law of sowing and reaping. Every farmer understands this law instinctively. You cannot plant corn and expect to harvest wheat. You cannot plant weeds and expect to harvest roses. You cannot plant mediocrity and expect to harvest excellence. But here's what most people never grasp. This law operates not just in agriculture, but in every area of human experience. Every action you take is a seed. Every word you speak is a seed. Every thought you think consistently is a seed. And like all seeds, they will produce a harvest that matches exactly what was planted. The quality of your life right now is the harvest of seeds you planted months, years, even decades ago. The relationships you have, the health you enjoy, the financial situation you're in, respect you command, all of these are the natural result of seeds you planted through your daily action. Most people look at their current circumstances and wonder why they're not getting the results they want. They're focused on the harvest while completely ignoring the seeds they're planting. They want excellent results while planting mediocre effort. They want extraordinary outcomes while investing ordinary energy. But when you truly understand the law of sowing and reaping, you realize that if you want to change your harvest, you must change your seeds. If you want excellence in your life, you must plant excellence in your action. If you want extraordinary results, you must invest extraordinary effort. This is why the morning hours are so crucial. The seeds you plant in the first hour of your day determine the harvest you'll reap in the remaining hour. If you plant seeds of excellence in your morning routine, you'll harvest excellence throughout your day. If you plant seeds of mediocrity, you'll harvest mediocrity. But here's where most people get this wrong. They think planting seeds of excellence means doing big, dramatic things. They think it means making grand gestures or heroic efforts. It doesn't. It means doing small things with extraordinary care and attention. Excellence is not an event. It is a habit. It is the compound result of choosing to do ordinary things in extraordinary ways, day after day, until extraordinary becomes your natural way of being. Consider the master craftsman who spends hours perfecting a single joint in a piece of furniture that no one will ever see. To the casual observer, this might seem like wasted effort, but the craftsman understands something profound: excellence in the hidden details, creates excellence in the visible results. This is the principle of excellence in minutiae. When you commit to doing small things with extraordinary care, you develop the character and habits that naturally produce extraordinary results in everything you touch. The man who rebuilt his life after losing everything discovered this principle through direct experience. In his empty apartment he had very few possessions, but he chose to care for them with the same attention he would have given to precious treasures. He made his bed each morning as if it were a sacred ritual. He cleaned his dishes after each meal as if they were works of art. He organized his limited wardrobe as if he were preparing for the most important day of his life. These small acts of excellence began to transform his entire relationship with life. They awakened within him a standard of quality that began to express itself in every area of his existence. When he looked for work, he approached each interview with the same meticulous care he brought to making his bed. When he spoke to his children, he chose his words with the same precision he used to organize his clothes. The result was inevitable. Employers noticed his attention to detail. His children began to respond to the quality of his presence. Opportunities began to appear because he had become the kind of person who naturally attracted opportunities. This is the alchemy of success. When you consistently plant seeds of excellence in small things, you develop the character that naturally produces excellent results in large things. When you make excellence a habit in the invisible moments, excellence becomes inevitable in the visible moment. But planting seeds of excellence is only the beginning. You must also understand the sixth truth that governs all growth. I understand that struggle is the price of strength. This declaration acknowledges one of the most misunderstood laws in all of human development. Most people believe that struggle is something to be avoided, that difficulty is a sign that something is wrong, that challenges are obstacles to overcome rather than opportunities to grow. But nature tells a different story. The oak tree that grows in a valley protected from wind and storm develops a weak root system and shallow strength. The oak tree that grows on a mountain, constantly buffeted by wind and weather, develops deep roots and extraordinary resilience. The very forces that seem to threaten its existence are actually the forces that create its strength. This same principle operates in human development. The struggles you face are not punishments or accidents. They are the precise experiences required to develop the strength you need for your next level of growth. Every difficulty you encounter is specifically designed to develop a capacity that you don't yet possess but that you will need for your future success. The man who lost everything initially saw his circumstances as a cruel twist of fate, but as he began to rebuild his life, he realized that his losses had been precisely what he needed to develop strength he never knew he possessed. The betrayal taught him discernment. The financial loss taught him resourcefulness. The loneliness taught him self-reliance. The humiliation taught him humility. Each struggle was not a punishment but a promotion, an opportunity to develop the character and capability required for the next level of his life. The difficulty he initially resented became the foundation for the strength he eventually celebrated. This is why you must change your entire relationship with struggle. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you must learn to ask, "What is this developing in me?" Instead of resisting difficulties, you must learn to embrace them as the precise experiences required for your growth. But here's the key. Struggle without purpose is merely suffering. Struggle with purpose is the foundation of strength. The difference is not in the struggle itself but in how you frame it and what you do with it. When you understand that struggle is the price of strength, you begin to welcome challenges as opportunities rather than avoid them as problems. You begin to see obstacles as exercises designed to develop your capability rather than barriers designed to stop your progress. This shift in perspective transforms your entire experience of life. Instead of feeling like a victim of your circumstances, you begin to feel like a student in the greatest university that exists, the university of direct experience. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by your challenges, you begin to feel excited by the strength they're developing within you. This brings us to the seventh truth that must become part of your morning consciousness. I am building something greater than myself. This declaration acknowledges that true success is never just about personal achievement. It is about creating something that serves a purpose beyond your own immediate needs and desires. It is about contributing to something larger than your individual existence. When you understand this principle, your daily actions take on a completely different meaning. You're not just going through the motions of life. You're not just trying to get through another day. You're participating in the construction of something magnificent, a life that serves as a bridge between what is and what could be. Think of the great cathedrals of Europe. The stonemasons who laid the foundation knew they would never see the completed structure. The craftsmen who carved the intricate details knew that their individual contributions would be absorbed into something far greater than any single effort. But they worked with extraordinary dedication because they understood they were part of something transcendent. This is the perspective you must bring to your daily life. Every morning practice, every act of excellence, every moment of struggle is not just about your personal development. It is about your contribution to the ongoing creation of human potential. It is about what you're adding to the great symphony of human achievement. The man who rebuilt his life eventually came to understand this principle in a profound way. As he developed his character and capabilities, he realized that his transformation was not just for his own benefit. It was creating a model for his children, an inspiration for his community, and a testament to the power of human resilience. His daily practices of excellence were not just making him a better person, they were creating a legacy of possibility that would outlast his individual existence. His struggle was not just developing his own strength, it was demonstrating to others that any circumstance can be transformed through the right application of principle and effort. This is why your morning routine matters so much. It's not just about making yourself feel better or achieving your personal goal. It's about what you're contributing to the great project of human potential. It's about the example you're setting, the energy you're adding to the world, the possibilities you're demonstrating. When you plant seeds of excellence, you're not just improving your own harvest, you're enriching the soil for everyone who comes after you. When you embrace struggle as the price of strength, you're not just developing your own capabilities, you're proving that strength is possible for anyone willing to pay the price. This understanding transforms your entire relationship with discipline and effort. Instead of seeing your daily practices as burdens to endure, you begin to see them as gifts to offer. Instead of viewing your challenges as problems to solve, you begin to view them as opportunities to demonstrate what's possible. But understanding your greater purpose is only meaningful if you also understand the eighth truth that governs all achievement. I maximize every opportunity that appears. This declaration acknowledges that life operates in seasons and cycles, and that opportunities appear according to patterns that can be understood and anticipated. Just as a farmer knows that there are seasons for planting and seasons for harvesting, you must learn to recognize the seasons of opportunity in your own life. Most people miss opportunities because they're not prepared for them when they appear. They're so focused on their problems that they don't notice the possibilities. They're so caught up in what they don't have that they fail to recognize what they do have. They're so busy complaining about their circumstances that they miss the gifts hidden within those circumstances. But when you understand that opportunities appear in cycles, you begin to prepare for them before they arrive. You develop the skills, the character, and the awareness necessary to recognize and seize them when they present themselves. The man who lost everything learned this principle through direct experience. During his darkest period, he was so focused on his losses that he almost missed the opportunities that were appearing all around him. A chance conversation with a stranger, an unexpected phone call, a book that someone recommended, a job posting that seemed unrelated to his background. At first these seemed like random events, but as he began to pay attention, he realized that they were all connected. Each opportunity was preparing him for the next one. Each experience was developing a capacity that would be needed for a future possibility. He began to approach each day with what he called opportunity consciousness. Instead of waking up focused on his problems, he woke up looking for possibilities. Instead of seeing obstacles, he began to see options. Instead of feeling limited by his circumstances, he began to feel excited by the potential they contained. This shift in perspective changed everything. Opportunities that had been invisible became obvious. Connections that had been random became meaningful. Resources that had been hidden became available. This is the power of opportunity consciousness. When you actively look for possibilities, you find them. When you prepare for opportunities, you're ready when they appear. When you maximize every opportunity that presents itself, you create momentum that attracts even greater opportunities. But maximizing opportunities requires more than just positive thinking. It requires developing what could be called pattern recognition, the ability to see how apparently unrelated events are actually part of a larger design. Every opportunity is connected to every other opportunity. Every skill you develop makes you more capable of recognizing and seizing future possibilities. Every relationship you build creates access to opportunities you couldn't have imagined. Every challenge you overcome develops the character necessary for greater challenges and greater opportunity. This is why you must pay attention to everything. This is why you must treat every encounter as significant. This is why you must remain open to possibilities, even when they don't match your preconceived ideas about what you're looking for. The opportunity you need might come disguised as a problem. The person who can change your life might be someone you initially dismiss as unimportant. The skill you need might be something you're currently avoiding because it seems difficult or irrelevant. When you understand that opportunities appear in patterns, you begin to see your entire life as a perfectly orchestrated sequence of experiences, each one preparing you for the next, each one building on the last, each one moving you closer to the fullest expression of your potential. This understanding transforms your relationship with time. Instead of seeing your days as a series of random events to endure, you begin to see them as carefully designed learning experiences to embrace. Instead of feeling like you're waiting for your life to begin, you begin to realize that your life is already unfolding exactly as it should. The seeds of excellence you plant each morning create the harvest of opportunities you'll reap throughout your life. The struggles you embrace as the price of strength develop the character necessary to handle greater opportunities. The understanding that you're building something greater than yourself gives meaning and purpose to every action you take, and the commitment to maximizing every opportunity that appears ensures that you'll continue to grow and advance regardless of your circumstance. These 4 principles: planting seeds of excellence, understanding struggle as the price of strength, building something greater than yourself, and maximizing every opportunity, are not separate concepts. They are interconnected laws that work together to create the alchemy of success. When you align your daily actions with these natural laws, success becomes not just possible but inevitable. When you work against them, failure becomes not just likely but certain. The choice is yours to make, and you make it fresh every morning with the first actions you take and the first thoughts you think. Tomorrow we will explore how to remove the final barriers to this natural success by eliminating the self-sabotaging patterns that prevent most people from fully accessing their potential. We will discover how to purify your mental and emotional habits so that nothing stands between you and the full expression of your capabilities. But today, your work is to integrate these 4 natural laws into the fabric of your daily experience, to plant seeds of excellence in everything you do, no matter how small, to embrace struggle as the price of strength, no matter how difficult, to remember that you're building something greater than yourself, no matter how personal the work seems, and to maximize every opportunity that appears, no matter how insignificant it might seem. Because when you align yourself with these natural laws, you don't just achieve success, you become success. You don't just attract opportunities, you become an opportunity for others. You don't just build a better life, you become a better person. And that transformation is not just the goal of all true achievement, it is the foundation upon which all lasting success is built. The greatest enemy of your potential is not external opposition, it is the in your head that whispers reasons why you cannot succeed. You now understand that you are the architect of your destiny. You have learned to work with the natural laws that govern all achievement. But there remains one final barrier between you and the full expression of your capabilities: the subtle patterns of self-sabotage that operate beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. These patterns are not dramatic or obvious. They are the quiet that suggest you start tomorrow instead of today. They are the reasonable explanations for why this isn't the right time. They are the logical justifications for why someone else's success doesn't apply to your situation. They are the sophisticated arguments that your mind constructs to protect you from the discomfort of growth. Most people never recognize these patterns because they seem so rational, so justified, so reasonable, but they are actually the most sophisticated forms of self-deception ever created. They are the ways your mind protects you from the very experiences that would transform your life. The 9th truth you must declare each morning is this: I eliminate excuses from my vocabulary. This declaration acknowledges that excuses are not explanations. They are not reasons. They are not justifications. They are weapons that you use against your own potential. Every excuse you make is a vote for limitation. Every excuse you accept is a choice to remain smaller than you could. There are three primary forms of self-sabotage that prevent most people from accessing their full potential: excuses, procrastination, and blame. These three forces work together to create what could be called the trinity of mediocrity, the mental and emotional patterns that ensure you never rise above average. Excuses are the stories you tell yourself about why you can't do what you know you should do. They are the sophisticated arguments that your mind constructs to justify inaction. They are the ways you convince yourself that your limitations are permanent and your circumstances are insurmountable. The man who rebuilt his life after losing everything had to confront his own relationship with excuses in the most direct way possible. In his empty apartment, surrounded by the wreckage of his former life, he had access to the most compelling excuses ever created. He could have blamed his business partner's betrayal. He could have cited his lack of resources. He could have pointed to his age, his circumstances, his past failures. But he realized that every excuse he made was actually a choice to remain trapped in his current situation. Every reasonable explanation for why he couldn't succeed was actually an investment in failure. Every logical justification for why his circumstances were different was actually a guarantee that his circumstances would remain different. So he conducted what he called an excuse audit. He wrote down every reason he had been giving himself for why he couldn't rebuild his life. The list was long and sophisticated. Each excuse seemed reasonable in isolation. But when he saw them all together, he realized they formed a comprehensive system of self-sabotage. Then he did something that changed everything. He transformed each excuse into an action step. Instead of "I don't have enough money to start over," he wrote, "I will find a way to generate income with the resources I have." Instead of "I'm too old to start again," he wrote, "I will use my experience as an advantage in my rebuilding process." Instead of "the market is too competitive," he wrote, "I will find my unique value proposition." This exercise revealed a profound truth. Behind every excuse is a hidden action step. Behind every limitation is a disguised opportunity. Behind every reason why you can't is a pathway to how you can. But eliminating excuses is only the beginning. You must also address the 10th truth that governs all achievement. I take immediate action on my priorities. This declaration acknowledges that procrastination is not a time management problem. It is a form of spiritual cowardice. It is the fear of inadequacy disguised as the desire for perfection. It is the avoidance of judgment disguised as the pursuit of excellence. Every time you postpone action on something important, you are making a choice. You are choosing the comfort of inaction over the discomfort of progress. You are choosing the safety of the known over the uncertainty of the unknown. You are choosing to remain who you are instead of becoming who you could be. Procrastination operates on a simple but devastating principle. It convinces you that there will be a better time to begin. It suggests that when you have more resources, more knowledge, more confidence, more time, more support, then you will be ready to take action. But that perfect moment never comes because perfection is not a prerequisite for progress. The man who lost everything discovered this principle when he realized he had been waiting for the right conditions to begin rebuilding his life. He was waiting for his emotional state to improve. He was waiting for his financial situation to stabilize. He was waiting for inspiration to strike. He was waiting for a clear vision of his future to emerge. But while he was waiting, nothing was changing. His emotional state remained dependent on his circumstances. His financial situation continued to deteriorate. Inspiration remained elusive. His vision remained clouded. Then he had a breakthrough that changed everything. He realized that action creates clarity, not the other way around. He realized that movement generates momentum, not the other way around. He realized that you don't wait for the right conditions to begin, you create the right conditions by beginning. So he instituted what he called the 2-minute rule. Whenever he identified something important that needed to be done, he would immediately take at least 2 minutes of action on it. Not perfect action, not complete action, just immediate action. This simple practice transformed his entire relationship with progress. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment to apply for jobs, he spent 2 minutes updating his resume. Instead of waiting for the perfect business plan to emerge, he spent 2 minutes researching one potential opportunity. Instead of waiting for the perfect words to reconcile with his children, he spent 2 minutes writing a brief text message. Each 2-minute action created momentum. Each moment of momentum made the next action easier. Each easier action created more momentum. Before long, he was taking daily action on all of his priorities, not because he had overcome his fear or found perfect conditions, but because he had learned to act despite his fear and imperfect conditions. This is the power of immediate action. It breaks the spell of procrastination. It creates momentum where there was stagnation. It generates progress where there was paralysis. It transforms potential into reality through the simple act of beginning. But taking immediate action on your priorities is meaningless unless you also understand the 11th truth that governs all sustained achievement. I create my own momentum. This declaration acknowledges that momentum is not something that happens to you. It is something you create through the conscious direction of your daily actions. It is not a mysterious force that you wait for. It is a natural result of consistent effort applied in a specific direction. Most people misunderstand momentum. They think it is an external force that will carry them forward once they get it going. They think it is something that happens when conditions are right. They think it is dependent on inspiration, motivation, or favorable circumstance. But momentum is actually an internal force that you generate through the accumulation of small actions. It is the compound effect of consistent daily habits. It is the natural result of showing up every day, regardless of how you feel, regardless of external conditions, regardless of whether you see immediate results. The man who rebuilt his life learned this principle through direct experience. In the beginning, every action felt difficult. Every step forward felt like it required enormous effort. Every day felt like a struggle against inertia and resistance. But gradually, something began to shift. The actions that had once required tremendous effort began to feel natural. The habits that had once felt forced began to feel automatic. The progress that had once seemed impossible began to feel inevitable. This was not because his circumstances had changed. It was because he had created momentum through the consistent application of daily effort. He had built what could be called success automaticity, the condition where right actions become so natural that they require no conscious effort or motivation. This is why your morning routine is so crucial. It is not just about starting your day in a positive way. It is about creating the momentum that will carry you through the challenges, obstacles, and resistances that you will inevitably encounter. When you begin each day with actions that align with your highest priorities, you create forward motion before the reactive mind can take control. When you establish positive momentum in the morning, you have energy and direction that sustain you throughout the day. When you make progress on your most important goals first, you build confidence and motivation that make everything else easier. But creating momentum is only valuable if you also understand the 12th and final truth that must become part of your daily consciousness. I end each day stronger than I began. This declaration acknowledges that every day is an opportunity for growth, and that growth is not automatic. It is the result of conscious choices made throughout the day. It is the result of treating each day as a laboratory for development, rather than simply a series of experiences to endure. Most people end each day depleted. They have spent their energy on other people's priorities. They have allowed their attention to be scattered by distractions. They have reacted to circumstances rather than creating them. They have survived another day rather than used another day to advance their lives. But when you understand that each day is an opportunity to become stronger, you approach every experience differently. You look for the lesson in every challenge. You seek the growth opportunity in every difficulty. You find the strength-building potential in every struggle. The man who rebuilt his life developed what he called his evening reflection practice. Before going to sleep each night, he would ask himself 3 questions. What did I learn today? How did I grow today? What strength did I develop today? This practice transformed his entire relationship with experience. Instead of seeing difficult days as problems to survive, he began to see them as opportunities to develop capabilities. Instead of feeling frustrated by setbacks, he began to feel grateful for the lessons they contained. Instead of ending each day exhausted by what had happened to him, He began to end each day energized by what had happened in him. This shift in perspective created what could be called continuous compound growth. Each day's experiences became building blocks for the next day's development. Each challenge overcome became preparation for greater challenges. Each strength developed became the foundation for greater strength. But ending each day stronger than you began requires more than just reflection. It requires what could be called daily death and rebirth. The willingness to let go of yesterday's limitations and step into tomorrow's possibilities. Every evening you must consciously release the person you were during the day, and prepare to become the person you will be tomorrow. You must forgive yourself for the mistakes you made, celebrate the progress you achieved, and commit to the growth you will continue. This is not about perfectionism. This is about progression. This is not about being better than others. This is about being better than you were yesterday. This is not about achieving some final state of completion. This is about embracing the infinite journey of becoming. The framework for this transformation is simple but profound. It begins the moment you open your eyes each morning, and continues until you close them each night. It is built on the foundation of the 12 truths you have learned. I am the architect of my destiny. Today I choose growth over comfort. I am responsible for my reactions, not my circumstances. My thoughts create my reality. I plant seeds of excellence in everything I do. I understand that struggle is the price of strength. I am building something greater than myself. I maximize every opportunity that appears. I eliminate excuses from my vocabulary. I take immediate action on my priorities. I create my own momentum. I end each day stronger than I began. These are not just affirmations. They are the operating principles for a life of continuous growth and extraordinary achievement. They are the foundation upon which all lasting success is built. Your morning begins with the conscious choice to take responsibility for your life. Your day continues with the consistent application of natural laws. Your evening concludes with the recognition that you have grown stronger through your experiences. This is the complete cycle of transformation. This is the daily practice of mastery. This is the pathway from where you are to where you want to be. But knowing these principles is not enough. Understanding these truths is not sufficient. You must commit to living them. You must choose to embody them. You must decide to become them. The man who lost everything and rebuilt his life understood this principle profoundly. His transformation was not the result of a single moment of insight. It was the result of thousands of small choices made consistently over time. It was the result of choosing growth over comfort, responsibility over blame, action over procrastination, every single day. His story is not unique. His transformation is not special. His principles are not secret. They are available to anyone willing to pay the price of daily discipline and consistent effort. The question is not whether these principles work. The question is whether you will work with them. The question is not whether transformation is possible. The question is whether you will choose transformation. You stand at the same crossroads where you began this journey. You can choose mastery or surrender to mediocrity. You can choose to be the architect of your destiny or remain a tenant in your own life. You can choose to plant seeds of excellence or continue to harvest the weeds of mediocrity. The choice is yours. The power is yours. The opportunity is yours. But the choice must be made today. The power must be claimed today. The opportunity must be seized today. Tomorrow is built on the foundation of today's choices. Your future is created by your present actions. Your destiny is determined by your daily disciplines. The 12 truths you have learned are not theories to understand. They are tools to use. They are not concepts to contemplate. They are principles to practice. Begin today. Begin this morning. Begin right now. Because every morning, you stand at the crossroads of yesterday's excuses and tomorrow's possibilities. And in that moment, you either choose mastery or surrender to mediocrity. The choice is yours. Choose mastery.